Awesome. I believe that there has been some sort of consensus on what startups come next, but this is a panel discussion that I really want to do before we finish. So we will keep this as as short as possible. I'm quite sure that you guys have a lot of insight to share, but in the interest of time, we'll go through this as quickly as we can. We have an interesting panel here. We have the founder of Settlement, the founder of Harmony Protocol, the founder of Matic Network, and the India country head for R3 Coda. You will see these names kind of being thrown around when it comes to blockchain products, being built out of India. But as protocols, you guys, and this is a question mainly for Sahil from Harmony and Sandeep from Matic, you guys were startups yourself and beneficiaries of the crypto financing that helped you kind of get off the ground. Is it something that is still relevant today? And I'm sure there was a slight blip on the IEO screen, but post that it's slowed down a lot. So Sandeep, I want to kind of bring you in on that. Is that huge money rush that came in through the crypto financing thing still relevant today? And what should a blockchain startup be having in their mind while going out into the market?
Actually, it's coming back in a bigger wave. So, you might be already aware of the high farming thing and all that. So, it almost seems like the wave of that 2017, early 2017 is approaching back. Although the game is now slightly different, rather than doing like large multi-million-dollar sales, you basically are doing some sort of like you do basically small private sales and all that, and after you do like farming and all that. So there's a lot going on in the DeFi space, and I think there's a lot of speculation for sure, but I think for any industry, the speculation, if it is properly managed, it's actually good because it brings in a lot of money and talent also, which has happened with blockchain. Like almost like a lot of best brains in the world are focusing on these things. So I think these will keep coming back. IEOs will never go out. Like they are an improvement on top of ICOs, like where you have an exchange who has done at least some level of due diligence for the kind of token holders or purchasers. There's a kind of short listing on a particular exchange. So I think these are not going to go away. Like IEOs will be back. I'm already hearing many exchanges are gearing up for the IEOs 1.0.
Right. That's an interesting perspective. We also have Om Malvia from the Tezos India Foundation. He's the president. Om, you're also the co-founder of you've also been a co-founder of a startup in the insurtech space on blockchain. What was it to you? Did you consider the crypto financing route, or with respect to just being a startup like the attendees today, are you solely focused on equity raises and grants?
So initially the idea was that usually you can see many startups doing tokens and the IEOs and stuff like that. We were just focused on does it make sense or do we need a token? And luckily we were also connected with a lot of VCs. We did really hard work in pitching to a lot of investors, doing call and doing the equity, going to the equity access instead of taking the token route. And that is, because we thought that we are still in the early stage. We needed some early growth. So for me, it didn't make sense to in the initial stage doing the token. But it depends upon project to project. If there is a requirement of token or how does it make sense. And we were also building on top of Tezos. So Tezos is more of, you could say, not a fat protocol. The concept, the notion around Tezos is not really too much focused towards application coins, but instead of native application that can run on the protocol. So that was concept of philosophy.
Understood. Understood. So Sahil and Vivek, you have two interesting perspectives of the same question that I wanted to ask, but I'll get Vivek in first. There was a survey done recently as to what is the most popular blockchain protocol in India, and R3 Coda featured really, really high up there, which is quite surprising, for us. Tell us, what about the products that you're seeing built in India excites you, and what's lacking? And then Sahil, because he's the outside guy looking at India as a place of massive potential, he's also, I like those two perspectives as someone who's here, with a lot of traction versus someone who's seeing it from the outside. So what excites you and what's not so great about what's being built in India? Vivek, you
Sure.
first.
So, from Coda perspective, the first thing is that even though we are in the blockchain space, we keep ourselves, completely away from the crypto space, and we kind of position ourselves as a software company, and specifically software designed for enterprises. Now, when you put on that lens, then blockchain takes a completely different meaning, right? It is looked at as a software that can drive efficiencies, open new revenue lines, and stuff like that. So what excites me about a lot of Indian startups who are building in this space, or even some of the big 4 or 5 Indian tech companies building in this space, is they are looking at existing products or existing processes and trying to apply blockchain to either optimize those or to transform them in a completely different way. So blockchain is really feeding into the digital transformation story in India and globally as well, but more so in India. We are seeing some great work being done in trade finance, in insurance, in supply chain, and the likes. What I am not so pumped about is the fact that I would say some groundbreaking innovation or some of the core blockchain innovation is not that heavy here. We are still very focused on use cases. I would like to see, for example, let's say more research on more development on new consensus protocols, or people actually looking at how do I increase throughputs of blockchains dramatically for India specific applications and stuff like that. There are few people working on that, but I would definitely like to see many, many more people contributing towards that.
Got it. That was interesting to hear. Sahil, your thoughts? I know your interests in India and the cross-border remittances space specifically, but your thoughts on what's exciting about India and what's not so great.
Absolutely. Even though I'm only a few miles away from India, I think my excitement for what's happening in India and what's in store probably matches all of you guys. And I'm actually super excited about suddenly, I think, the burst of energy and enthusiasm to capitalize on blockchain. But there have been people who've been building for the last 2-3 years. Sandeep's one of them, and I caught up with him more than a year ago. But to your point, I think, Raghu, what I have really liked seeing in India is that we've really caught up with building the basic infrastructure to bring access of whether you say cryptocurrency or blockchain in India. On the blockchain side, I think the innovations, even at the infrastructure level, some of the guys have been building global level, I think, startups and names like Matic, and that's really, really encouraging to see. But also on the other side, there's innovation happening in basic infra. Can people actually buy cryptocurrency? Can people hold Bitcoin? I think blockchain to enterprise is a different angle, I would say. But when you think about can people actually build products for onboarding users even to DeFi, InstaDapp is a great example. You see, Nitin mentioned about building the right tooling, the right kind of products which are used across the world. In my time, I used to give examples of Freshworks, right, in India, and now you see that with Nuo, Juno, InstaDapp really raising the bar for this basic infrastructure for bringing in the first few users for blockchain. So I think that is super exciting. I'm personally rooting for the next Revolut, the next TransferWise kind of company, which is thinking of solving big use cases like remittances by building their products in India and then engaging the global audience. So I think that's something that I'm personally excited about. I feel like if I have to think about the areas where we can improve, there are some use cases which are probably a little early ahead of its time, and they sound great. I think we need innovation. We need to think about the future. I'm usually very critical in my own head to think about the product market fit lens. Hey, we can solve for XYZ type of use cases, whether it's in, even I was disillusioned to, and I have to confess, we thought data marketplaces and AI, leveraging blockchain would be amazing. And I know there's so much 10x impact there, but what's the right timing for that? So I think that's something that Indian founders can think harder about. That, hey, is this pain point really relevant for the market today?
Got it. This is where I want to kind of bring Matthew in. Matthew runs settlement. I'm curious to know, Matthew, because Vivek actually had a really interesting point on how we are looking at existing systems and figuring out how blockchain can be used to make it better. Is this something that you see in Europe and USA as well, and how are they different in the way they are approaching building blockchain projects, at least for the enterprise? What are your thoughts on that, Matthew? I think we're having some trouble with Matthew, but Om, given your experience in Crypto Valley, I'm quite sure that you have that insight as well. What do you see are the main differences between US and India, US, Europe, versus the products that are being built in India?
Okay. So it is very, in US and Europe, mainly if you talk about, you can, both the space, if we talk about, the private blockchain or the public blockchain, enterprise side, and both are, I see them growing very, very fast. I mean, in a parallel manner. So, for example, even for the STOs, the tokenization thing, that is happening very fast in United States and in Europe. And banks are now exploring CBDCs and all these other projects. So I would say in India, we are still, we are still kind of back on the education and some other stuff if we talk about blockchain, be it any, be it private or public, and which is now growing day by day. But in US and Europe, you can see, the faster innovation and not innovation, because in India, the innovation and talent is also growing very fast. But when it comes to regulator, you need to talk to regulators, when you need to talk to strategies or, let's say lawyers and the CAs and all the other building blocks, that is going up very fast, and they are very adaptable to all the changes that your company might have regarding to any private public blockchain. You're on mute.
Raghu.
Sorry, I was speaking on mute. On that discussion of private versus public, Vivek, I actually want your thoughts on this. Do you, as a flag bearer of enterprise blockchains, do you see space for use cases built, blockchain use cases built on public chains, and what are those what are those use cases that make the most sense from that angle? And I flip that around to Sandeep and Sahil as well to understand where they come from. So Vivek, if you could go first.
So Raghu, I think public and private blockchains will coexist. They solve very different problems. They approach problems in a much different way, in completely different ways. And there are use cases where public blockchains will always score over private blockchains. And there are use cases where private blockchains will always score over public blockchains. So coexistence, I think, is pretty much a given. I mean, I can't imagine how you would implement something like a Bitcoin on a private blockchain, right? I mean, it kind of doesn't make sense. So from our perspective, when we as R3, or even when I as a blockchain professional look at the history of blockchains and how it's evolved, as far as private blockchains is concerned, it has sort of coexisted with public blockchains now for about 2.5 hype cycles, right? So there's the initial 2015 hype cycle, 2017 hype cycle, and like I think Sandeep was mentioning, we are in the middle of another hype cycle possibly right now, right? And what we have seen is, at least over this time, people have figured out this works in private, this works in public, this probably is not even worth doing on a blockchain. I can use a database to do it or something else to do it, right? So the promising thing which I like about the industry at this point of time is people have kind of become realistic. They understand what blockchains can deliver, what blockchains can't deliver, and for what blockchains can deliver, what private blockchains can deliver and public blockchains can deliver. So there's a lot of realism, and that gives me a lot of hope that the technology is maturing and it's ready for widespread adoption. But to your first point, public and private will coexist. I don't see any other way around it.
Got it. Sandeep, your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I mean, I've had very like public and sort of controversial stances on private blockchains and all that. Like Raghu, you and me were also discussing about that tweet I made, that private blockchains at times, like I see like standalone private chains, except like only one use case where I see for private blockchains is wherein you have consortiums, but then I've also like extensively spoken to multiple enterprises on that, and I realized that bootstrapping these consortiums is very, very difficult. So but in future there, of course, there might be possible, but I'm like still not been able to see a kind of a growth curve wherein like we'll start seeing a lot of consortiums coming up and all that. So our strategy on that has been that eventually any particular useful case of blockchain wherein something actually goes to production, something actually adds value, will eventually land on public blockchains. Because private blockchains, I see a lot of, like, even in our cohort, when we were like some of the teams are presenting, I saw them presenting that, okay, we are on a private blockchain, and then we have two nodes. One node is in it's this place, and one node is in that place, and then actually they are running the node, and then they are also saying parallelly that, okay, this is blockchain and immutability and all those transparency and things. But if you are running 2 nodes, 3 nodes yourself, there is no immutability, there's no transparency. You can do whatever you want to do with that ledger. So I have been like publicly very vocal about private blockchains, like anti private blockchains. I don't feel that private blockchains like they are more like intranet of internet, like even at a lesser scale, I would say. But eventually, the enterprises and all that also have to, come onto this thing. And then I've also seen Ernst & Young, basically, I see that they publicly did the title of their event or the conference was Going Public. So, they have done quite a good amount of work where they're using zero knowledge proofs and all that, where you can have all the kind of privacy and everything, but still the provability and everything on the, and withdrawability basically on the main chain. So that makes it kind of like a, kind of layer 2 network wherein you are doing a lot of stuff which is private, but at the end of the day, everything is anchored onto a public blockchain. So I think, and even on the privacy front, multiple people can run it, and there's zero knowledge proof. So, there's absolute impeccable this thing like verifiability and all that. So I personally feel that public blockchains is eventually will become the norm, but it will be a long journey. It will not be a short journey. And in that process in between, like private blockchains are a very good kind of, I think I would say, the Trojan horse to bring enterprises into the public blockchains eventually, or Trojan horse to bring them into blockchains and tell them about blockchains, and then eventually they will all move to public blockchains. But there's a very strong stance. I'm like with Vivek being there and many people, but that's what have been my stance from the very beginning on this.
Yeah, and that was the point of the question as well. Like there are perspectives that need to be heard on both sides, which I think have come out very well. But what was interesting to see is that no one, completely.
Yeah. And I also want to state that I would love to be proven wrong. Like if, like constantly, even in next 1 hour, if I see really something that, breaks the like kind of the barrier which I have in my mind, that okay, how this will be solved, I would be like more than happy to change my stance.
A lot of the questions that I did want to ask were covered in the discussions that we had, and we're also very close to sharing the results for T Block. And I know that there are some audience questions, and we will share the coordinates of where to reach out to you, where you can ask them that. But before you go, you have probably seen most of the pitches till now as well, and I wanted your thoughts on them and any parting advice that you'd like to give them as some of these guys go on to the next level of this accelerator. So Vivek, I know you're a partner, and our three support has been really appreciated now, and I just want to understand your thoughts on the startups that you've just seen, and what advice you'd like to give them. So we start with Vivek, then Sahil, and Sandeep and Om.
So I think my advice for the startups is one word: just focus on product market fit. Every other problem is solvable, and product market fit in itself is actually also a journey. So at every point of time, every day as a founder, when you wake up, and I've been a founder myself, so I can testify to that. It's wake up thinking about, do I have product market fit? If I don't, what can I do incrementally today to discover what the product market fit is, and then to take a step towards that. I think as long as you keep your eye on that ball, valuation, scaling, money, or everything will follow. You just need to find where your product fits in where your customers want it.
It almost echoes what Sahil was saying just a while back. But Sahil, your thoughts? You've been following the program as well. Your words of advice for the teams.
Absolutely. I think I definitely echo what Vivek just mentioned. One of the things that I have personally in my own journey lately realized that I think there's something to be said about going deep within you could call it vertical, think vertically about the problem versus horizontally think about software or platform, and that it can apply to everything. I think if startup entrepreneurs today can actually go deep into all the pain points of a particular use case, think about all stakeholders involved, I think then there's insights that you can definitely get in finding that product market fit. For example, I think if someone has such a strong agri-tech background and the TraceX, I think the last pitch that I was able to see, the founders have a strong experience. They understand how the space works. What can blockchain bring in? Where is a clear impact versus what we wish could be the impact? I think those are things which are just things which help build a great startup, I believe. So product market fit and going deep in problem solving in a particular vertical, start with that, especially for a new industry. Sometimes you have to really turbocharge, even though, innovation happens in a very organic fashion. But if you really have a top insight about an industry, you have to go deep and find the real root cause. That's what I would probably share.
Right. Matthew, I see you here. We're concluding the panel. The main thing was, having seen some of the pitches that I hear, what are your parting words of advice for the entrepreneurs, and what should they be looking forward to as they move to the next step?
Yeah, I thank you so much for that, and I think it was quite interesting to hear the pitches today. A lot of interesting themes and ideas, and what I think is important for anyone in the blockchain space to think about and to consider is number one, about, it was mentioned, the product market fit, the need for the product, but also time to market is important. So I mean, getting the product that when there is that identified need for what you're doing, to be able to move quickly to the market and gain that first mover advantage, I think is an important thing for any company to be able to achieve. So that's part about having a great team on board that can move quickly, and I think that's important for any company that's moving into this space.
And we'll conclude with Sandeep and Om. Sandeep, you want to go next?
Yeah, I mean, I might have missed the question. Could you repeat the question, Raghu?
The question is your parting words of advice, having seen all the pitches, and I know you've actually sat through a lot of the one-on-ones, of the T-Block startups here as well. So, what should they be looking out for as they move on to the next level?
Yeah. So I think the good thing about I see. So I am also a mentor in the Gitcoin's kernel fellowship, and I see a lot of you originally asked also what's the difference that you see in India and the US and all that. So what I see in the West side is that most of the people are like chasing some of like revolutionary use cases, right? So for example, freedom of press, fake news, and stuff like that, and other larger topics like how to have financial independence and all that. What I see with Indian startups is that most of the Indian startups are focused on real world use cases because they want to make actual businesses out of it. So that's the positive side of things, that people are looking to do real world use cases. The only negative I see is the the kind of use of blockchain. Like I've seen multiple teams, as I already mentioned, that having one node blockchain, like that's not the way. But the good thing is that they are slowly understanding that okay, this is not optimal, and many of them actually told also that this is not optimal. We know we are going to if we are building a decentralized platform or platform which actually uses the benefits of blockchain, then it has to be a kind of a public blockchain or a kind of more decentralized solution, if not a public blockchain. So that is one good thing that I'm seeing, and my recommendation is that only that always see that you are building, if your use case legitimately has a blockchain use case, then you need to have a solution which is more decentralized, more transparent, and and more trustable in that sense, in the form of network. So that's my only suggestion to all the teams.
Awesome. And Om, we can
I
save the best for the last. We can conclude this.
No, I totally resonate with Sandeep's point because that is also something that I've also seen in some one-on-ones, and people and sometimes also when I talk with the entrepreneurs who come for advice, I talk with them like, why are you using the private blockchain? Or even if you are using private blockchain, in the pitch they start with decentralization, immutable, and all this whole keyword, and then they explain the node architecture. He runs a node, they runs a node. So that is cool. That's up to their choice. But I would tell them to be adaptable to the changes that we are going to see in next coming years, or as we are seeing as of now, and also think global, because now with the blockchain, we are entering into a borderless economy, and many new avenues of business are opening up. The ways you raise capital have been changed. So you try to be adaptable to all these changes, and keep yourself up to date with whatever is happening. And how can you leverage all these opportunities in order to make your business work and make it grow very large. So that is something that entrepreneurs should focus on. And apart from that, from our side as a Tezos India Foundation side, we are very, very much open to anybody who is willing to discuss, and we have provided any kind of financial support or technical support or helping or anything that any entrepreneurs is looking for. So anybody, if anybody just want to have a discussion that to open for a public blockchain, or what the different it could do, I'm always up for a chat.
Well, on that slightly interesting note, we will leave the coordinates for all the speakers here on IBC Media. Anyone who wants to reach out to these gentlemen, the channels are always open. They're fairly accessible as well. And I don't want to keep the crowd waiting any longer. I hear that decisions have been made, and I'll hand it back over to my co-founder Kavya to walk us through the conclusion of the penultimate demo day for T-Block. Thank you so much to all the panelists. And now to the part which is really, really nervous for me as well as for everybody. So over to you, Kaveh.